Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. Quick shout out to some of my upcoming stand-up dates. August 12th, I'm going to be performing in Beach Haven, New Jersey. I think that venue is called Bird and Betty's. It's on the beach. It's a beachy show. And then heading to New Orleans to do the Comedy Theater out there, August 13th and 14th. Back to Vegas with Comedians at the Compound, September 10th and 11th. And then back to Texas to headline Hyenas in Dallas, September 17th and 18th. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Cushy Dreams. You know them, you love them. They are my go-to for all things CBD related. I want to talk to you guys real quick about Cushy Dreams. They offer a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They specialize in CBD-rich hemp flower, also known as bud, and pre-roll CBD joints. They taste great. It looks, feels, smells just like high-quality marijuana, but it's not going to get you high. There is under 0.3% THC in all of these products. So you can enjoy all the health benefits of CBD without, going out to lunch, getting the munchies and whatnot. It's cannabis that ships directly to you. It's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. They take the artisan approach. Every run is a small batch, 100% hand trimmed, never machine trimmed. You can go onto their website, cushydreams.com, to check out their independent lab tests to show compliance and purity. Each batch is slow cured for 2 to 4 weeks to guarantee maximum freshness and preserve flavor and cannabinoids. And best of all, it's grown here in the USA. Cushy Dreams has CBD flower and pre-rolled joints that come in specific indica sativa blends like Energy, Hustle, Relax, Create, Dream, Peace. So go to cushydreams.com, that's KUSHY, and get some high-quality CBD bud. At checkout, use promo code CMP to get 20% off every order. That's the first, second, third, you name it. I particularly really like the Hustle blend and the Dream blend. I also really like the joints. They come in this neat little 5-pack, which I love because of its portability. It's chic, and when I'm not wearing press-on nails, I can open it. All right, guys, without further ado, I'm so excited to have this guy back on the podcast. He was on my 5th episode, and then he came back on the pod September 2020. So I'm so excited that he's back now. He's a comedian, and he is a regular on the very popular, news show, Gutfeld. Gutfeld exclamation points on Fox. Joe DeVito is here. Hello.
Hey, hello, my dear. How are you?
Oh my God, it's so good to see you, Joe.
Right back at you. Easily one of my top 8 favorite people. If this were MySpace, you'd be crushing it.
Top 8.
Yeah.
So God, it's been so long since you were here last, and I feel like so much has happened in both of our lives. Now you've known Greg Gutfeld, I think, for a while. I think you'd been working with him for a while, and of course you had experience. You were on Red Eye. You've done a bunch of different shows, I think, on Fox. So how did you get to be a regular on Gutfeld's show? Like, how did that come about? When did that show start officially?
I think it was end of March, and I had done. I know Greg from back doing Red Eye, about going back almost 10 years. And I had done a Saturday show for a while, and they'd mentioned that, hey, the show's doing really well. We think we might go nightly. And I thought, well, that was pretty cool. And then when they did, they brought myself and Joe Mackey on to do some writing, and they're using us more in sketches and more on panel. And it's pretty crazy. I mean, the show is, I think it's getting about 1.5 million viewers per night.
Oh, my God. That's more than CNN.
Oh, it's way more than CNN.
Wiping the floor with CNN. This podcast is more than CNN some nights, I bet.
Yeah, I'm starting to think CNN might not be an actual network anymore. They just put up a couple of clips of them freaking out about something on YouTube. Once they lost the airports.
Right? Yeah, that was their primo location there.
So the show's been a lot of fun. It's an interesting experience to be working for Fox News, and they let us do almost anything we want. It's a lot of fun. I mean, there's some days where I just sit there and I spend my whole day writing jokes, shitting on Andrew Cuomo, or calling Brian Stelter fat over and over again. It's great.
It's so rewarding. It's just, when you look like that much of a man in a fat suit, how do you resist?
Yeah.
It's really, I know, the more I watch of him, the more I'm like, oh, he's just the bitchy drama kid from high school who is literally salty all year long about not getting the lead role in the play. Then that's how he lives his whole life, just upset that he was never a leading man.
Yeah. And whenever I'm feeling down, I remind myself that I think I'm 17 years older than him.
Yeah, I think he's my age. I think he's like 35 or something.
Mid-30s. So yeah, he's hitting him hard there.
Father Time is not kind to everyone.
Not to Mr. Potato.
But we look great. Yeah. What is so you have a lot of flexibility over there. What is kind of like your writing process like? Do you did they call you in and give you premises, or did they just say, okay, show up?
Well, it's still, it's very much the news network. So what they do is Greg writes his monologue, and they have the stories they pick for the day, and they present us in the blocks. That's what they call it, for each space between commercials. And they just have us do punch up. They have us, sometimes we'll write an entire block by ourselves. Lately we've been doing more sketches, which is a lot of fun. And we're rigging together costumes that we're pulling out of cardboard boxes. And I mean, we were astronauts last night, and we were legit wearing tinfoil. We were wrapped in tinfoil.
It works.
So yeah, it's so silly. I mean, that's what I like about it the most, is that that it's just, you have a funny idea, go be funny, and we'll put it up, and people will enjoy it. It's nice.
Yeah, and it's like, I wonder what kind of, you probably, in maybe like an SNL, probably have a similar costume budget, or who knows, maybe you don't. If you're resorting to tinfoil, maybe you don't have the same budget.
Well, we have zero costume budget, so
okay. Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is something, I don't know if you're just sort of comfortable with this at this point, but I'm finding, even when other comedians kind of like talk to me about me or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, your journey, whatever. And this may not even be in a negative way, but I noticed a lot of comics will say, oh yeah, Chrissy, you just became really political. And I'm like, not really. I just went from like an outspoken Democrat voting for whoever's Democrat to being like, oh yeah, now I voted for Trump. And I've noticed that, like, if you're a comedian who you're out in that you're an out conservative, or you're out that you voted for Trump, the consensus is that you're seen as more political than someone who just voted for Biden. And I wonder, why do you think that is? Well,
it's a couple things. There's no way to escape it now. People won't let you not talk politics. And I don't like it. I go through my old video archive sometimes, and I'll find clips from 5-10 years ago where a lot of my act was current events. And you could make fun. 10 years ago, everybody made fun of Elliot Spitzer. Everyone made fun of, Anthony Weiner more recently than that. And it wasn't, people weren't getting mad at you in the audience. It just was a funny thing that everybody was, learning about, and you made jokes about it. But I have to ask you this. Do you feel like your positions or values have changed?
Like overall? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, for sure, since my 20s, like I found this too, like I think I'm pro-choice now, I think every woman is like, you can say, oh, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-choice, but I think you really don't know till you're put in that position. And luckily enough for me, as like a young woman growing up, I never had a pregnancy scare, never had to make the decision to have an abortion. And I think when I was younger, it's it sounded cool to say you were pro-choice, because I don't care. I'm not letting anything hold me back. I'm a career woman now. I'm gonna go out there and make copies and be happy. And I'm not gonna have a kid now. Ugh, the best I can do better than just reproduce. And then I had friends who were in that position, and they did get the abortion. And now I just feel if I got, there's just, and I don't know if it's a getting older thing, but now, or you're just, as you get older, you see the value of life more. Now it's just I couldn't imagine doing it. And also, thank God I was never, ever put in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know if my values and stuff that started to solidify once I got past my 30s and into my 40s. But I really do feel like I've been here, and the political spectrum has just shifted so much. So
Yes.
there are even things that if you'd said them 2 years ago, people would have looked at you as if you were in a fantasy world. And now, I mean, just that we have, like the New Zealand weightlifter, and that's a position people will fight you for.
Oh, right. Wait, is she
watching,
actually like a man and she won, or is that what it's about?
She's a former competitive male weightlifter who's now competing as a woman on the team. And, I think we're seeing this strange breakdown of what words mean. That, I made myself laugh today because I suddenly had the thought of Trans Ams are Ams because you're not supposed to distinguish between things. And I think that's very dangerous because if words only mean what you want them to mean at that particular moment, then they're not words anymore, and we're not going to be able to communicate with each other. And I see that the real nefarious way is that people are using that to control people. But on a base layer, we're not able to communicate. And I see it because I'm surrounded by more conservative or libertarian-leaning people now. And every now and then I'll dip into what's being said on the other side, and they really sound like lunatics to me. So I think a lot of it is that Scott Adams had said, people are watching two different movies being projected at the same time.
Yes, I agree with you completely when you said, like, I'm pretty much the same, but it's just like the thing you're on has shifted. I was explaining to Ann Coulter's niece, of all people, who's very on the right. I was doing her show last week, and I'm like, wow, like, it's just so funny. Like, I think I've been, a lot of the same person in many ways. It's just that when I went from hosting a show at the Stonewall Inn, certain people liked me and kissed my ass and wanted a spot. And now that I do a show for Compound Media and I've gone to a couple Trump rallies, well, now certain people are nice to me and certain people have to be seen, talking down, have to be seen on Twitter talking shit about me. It's very important for a lot of people to know where they stand on me. But it's like the same stuff is making me laugh when I was having fun with my gays at Stonewall versus like having fun with calling Gino gay at Compound. Like I have the same sense of humor. I've never laughed. I've always kind of been like not politically correct, kind of just making fun at whatever is top of mind, not excluding certain. I never thought certain groups were off limits, but now
you can't even approach the joke. And I get mad hearing you say that because I've seen some people turn on you like that, and it pisses me off because they know you. They know you. They know who you are, and they know that you're a good person, and they've known you for years. And to suddenly to have to do this grandstanding, it's so cowardly and stupid. That what do people care what other idiots? I've seen that. I try not to look at too many of the comments about the show because I knew before the show launched that people in the whatever you want to call the comedy scene or whatever, even that makes me want to gag saying
what
that.
Even is it? Oh yeah, it's like, is it a community? No,
it's not. It's not.
It's every man for himself.
Exactly. It's a bunch of people jockeying for position.
People would stab you for your position. Yeah.
But I see them. I try to look at the comments, but I see what people say, and I look at it, and I can tell you didn't even watch anything. You already knew what you were going to say. And I look at its account that has 12 followers, and I think, why do I care what this person says? Although sometimes I wonder, why is it important to this person? What makes you feel like you have to comment over and over again on a show that you hate, on a network you can't stand, for people you think are stupid and evil? Like I just don't watch programs I don't like. I don't go to movies I don't enjoy. I don't understand what the problem is, but this is this weird way that people validate themselves.
Yeah, and you don't write about things that you don't care for. You just simply find things that you do care for.
I don't eat at restaurants I don't like either.
Yeah,
I don't know why people feel this need.
It sounds. Are you getting a little bit of feedback? Chat. Are you guys hearing feedback? I'm gonna try switching my internet, see if it works. Okay. Joe, just keep talking. Hold on.
Okay. I'll hold. Hopefully it's not due to my 40-year-old fan that I have blowing on me right now. So
I think it might be. It might be your fan.
Let me turn it off.
Yeah, it's making sure you have a fan blowing.
I do.
You gotta stay dry though. This is hot. This is the middle of summer. We gotta stay cool.
Did that change it?
I still hear a little. It's less though.
All right, if I pass out, this is the
It
fault of your
sounds
technical director.
like you might be, yeah, like aliens might be sucking you up to take with you. Like,
Okay.
he's a good specimen.
Hold on. Let me switch some.
Oh yeah, it's definitely Joe. It's definitely on Joe's end. Hey chat, shout out to the chat.
Better?
Happy to see you guys.
Anything
Love
happen?
this. Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
cool. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Joe. You're like, why do these people? It's because I realize like you have to take a step back and like realize it's truly not about you. And I feels like I'm the subject of conversation every 6 months or so for one reason or another. And when you're like, okay, like pretend this isn't about you, like look at what these people are doing, and it's a way for folks to be like, hey, I'm still here. Like it's very important for me to show that I'm on the right side of things and I need to get attention from the right people. It's like, and yeah, it does sting when these people like were or are friends and they talk shit, but you're like, oh, they're doing it for themselves. I have to try to not take that personally.
Yeah, it's certainly, it's not a show of character that you would turn on someone like that. Because like I said, they know you. You are not a person they're not familiar with. And
yeah.
And also in this, the gross world of comedy where people are climbing all over each other, I don't think we should be too surprised. I just wish people were funnier. That's all I ask. I don't even care if you're a horrible person. Just, my God, these
have something to show for it. I get it. I had a what I thought was a very good friend. Booked him on Stonewall all the time. Very funny guy. Passed at the Cellar. I thought a big name in comedy. Good friends, sent me flowers when my mom died, but then called me a conservative shill on Twitter. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to just like sort of, I guess I'm not a good judge of who's a friend. Maybe I need to take a step back, but you have to realize like, some people dealt with the last year and a half better than others. Some people, when their usual spots were taken away, maybe had a bit of a crisis of character or identity, and who knows, like maybe people's sources of income, it was like, I don't know, it was rough for a lot of people, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to be the bigger person, but of course I do keep a brown list. I do keep a brown and a black list. I have a yellow list. I have all types of people who've pissed me off in varying degrees on various lists.
Yeah. Well, you know what though? I think as you get older, your lists of almost everything start to contract. Your list of who you will put up with, your list of who you want to spend time with, your list of foods that you want to eat, like all the lists get smaller and smaller. So it's kind of a natural culling process. I did some of that over the past year where there were people in relationships where I looked at, and it wasn't a big blow up or anything like that, where I guess because we were forced to evaluate things over the past year and a half, that unless you completely distracted yourself with electronic bullshit, but it made me look at some things and say, you know what, maybe I've outgrown that relationship, or maybe when I'm with that person, I'm not a better version of myself. And then, it's like so many things that you let it go, and then it turns out you think, oh man, I could have done that years ago. I could have not felt that way.
It's true. I should be like you, Joe. Like, instead of I'll just have one list of people I do like, and it's really just going to be like you, Joe, and then like some people from Compound Media, Tyler Fisher. I don't know. It's just like
I liked your interview with Tyler.
Wasn't that interesting? Like, and he was somebody like, gosh, raised by two gay men, very much fully on the woke boat, and then they just kicked his ass out. They just were like, his own agents were like, sorry, we have nothing for you, and we're not even sorry about it, and we're not even gonna go to bat for you.
And you look at someone like him, what's the resume you need to have for people to give you the benefit of the doubt at least? But no, so I think we all just have to find our own ways around this. What's nice though is that I see the collapse of the traditional entertainment industry. It's nice because all those things that people used to worry about, they're irrelevant anymore. Like all the gatekeepers, fuck them. They were all assholes, and now they're irrelevant.
What are the I guess sort of things that you used to sweat getting, or every year you go, this is on my goal list. I'm gonna work for.
For a while it was getting passed at certain clubs, and I would get real anxious with the auditions, and I would do. And I've been doing this 20 years now, and I'm a legit headliner. I mean, I've got I'm having a good career and still moving upward. But I would I would get very anxious about those things. And then when the lockdown happened, I've never been so glad to be a suburban guy, because I thought, wow, there are guys my age who are big shots in the city and built their identity around working certain clubs. And now they're cooped up in a tiny apartment with a roommate. They're not married. They have no kids. They have no money. They don't even have a car. And they're 50 years old. Right? I mean, at least I was like, I'm going to go walk around my beautiful suburban neighborhood. And when I come home, I'm going to lift weights in my living room, and then I'm going to write, and I'm going to go back out, and I'm going to sit on a park bench. And it was good. It made me appreciate things like that. I mean, I've lived here on Long Island for 22 years now. I never realized I was surrounded by so many beautiful parks. It's great.
That's what I realized about Westchester too. Like, we did so much hiking. That is the one thing I really do miss about moving away from Long Island. It's like, okay, what I lost in beaches, I gained in like parks and hiking, and now I own several pairs of lesbian sneakers. But what's great about living in Long Island is like, you are a short drive away from beaches that are not full of needles, and that is not something people in New York City can say.
Yeah. And, now that I'm coming into Manhattan, I only came into the city a couple times during the pandemic, and none of them were on the railroad. I would drive in because there was great parking, And now that
great, there's just nobody in the streets. Like,
I did some of those Central Park shows where I would just roll up on Fifth Avenue. And, the kind of parking where you park and you look around and you think there's got to be a sign telling me that I can't do this. But that was nice. But now, I'm taking the train in, and I don't know how you feel. I feel like New York City is in big trouble for at least 20 years.
Wow. Okay. That's, you know what? That's a real estimate. I was hearing for a while, people, it'll bounce back. And then you go, and now it's like, okay, there's more bodies in the city, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean.
Yeah. Now, do you mean bodies laying on the ground, or do you mean
I mean
around?
Bodies hunched over in front of Macy's, mixing up drugs in the subway stairs. Yeah.
This is why I say 20 years, because it hasn't gotten as bad as it's going to get.
You think it's going to get worse?
It's going to get much worse. It's going to get much worse because, they chose chaos. And when you choose chaos, the things that we take for granted, they all go away. So
safety,
personal space. I mean, on a basic level, but just the idea that, let's say you are a woman walking with a purse and I'm a group of guys. Other than the social contract and fear of arrest, there's nothing stopping us from coming over and doing whatever we could get away with to you. As horrible as to say, is people are animals like that. And once you remove the threat of consequences, that's what you're going to get a lot of.
Yeah, you're going to get jizz right in your purse.
You're going to get all this awful stuff. It's so stupid to hear people saying, well, they just went up and punched that elderly woman in the head. Why would they do that?
Why wouldn't they do it? There's no consequence.
Because they enjoy it. They enjoy it. It gives them a chance to, one thing I've learned over the past year is that people want power.
Yes. Oh, God. That was a big one for me, too.
In any form, whether it's big as in a government, whether it's a social media platform, or even if it's just, you just want to be an asshole blasting your music on the subway. You just want to be metaphorically or literally urinating around everybody. That's what people want.
Yeah, if you just want to be an asshole and tell someone to put their mask on or back on, or oh God, yeah.
It's the look. I can understand how people feel about the mask, and if you're someone who's terrified, and all right, do your thing, But the idea that you would run up and get in someone's face and yell at them for not wearing a mask, you're clearly beyond any concerns for health or the spread of an airborne virus. What you're doing there is you're saying to this person, you have to do what complies with my belief system. That's all that's about. It has nothing to do with health. Otherwise, you'd be running away in terror from that person.
Right. It's like you're choosing chaos over peace. It's like you're choosing to try to control the situation or the other person instead of like, oh yeah, you can always control yourself. You can always walk away, get away. There's every other place that doesn't involve this situation that you hate. It's like the same thing that possesses somebody to blog about the comedy show or comedian that they hate. When it's like, you live in Idaho, go do the things you like to do.
Yeah, go for a walk. Like, what is this? But we people become addicted to that little dopamine shot of outrage. It's just, there are a lot of bad things that were made worse by the pandemic, and all the bad things we thought about social media have turned out to be true multiple times over. It's because I think what happened was social media it indulges your sense of the fantasy world you'd like to live in. And then, we used to say things like, well, but out in the real world, and we just had a year where there was no real world anymore. It just was the simulation.
Wow.
So, I really think that there is no dinner aside from the Instagram photo. There is no vacation aside from the TikTok video. It's just as real. It's just as real because what matters is the image that's put out over social media. And I'll be honest with you, if I didn't have to follow it for work, I would delete all that stuff. I think it's gross.
Yeah, that's why I never I can't bring myself to get back on TikTok. Like I was on it in the beginning, and then Trump was like, "No, get off China," and I was like, "Whatever you say."
Yeah.
But it's also like, okay, good. I just needed any excuse to get away from the pressure to learn a choreographed dance and bare my midriff for tweens approval.
I went on it, and TikTok just was constantly recommending what looked like teenage girls dancing in their underwear, and I thought, I don't want to be. I didn't
watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, have you had the thing where people lip sync to your comedy?
No, that's the highest praise. Maybe once. I think maybe once I saw something like that.
There's been a few that somebody. There's a guy I think in United Arab Emirates who's done a couple of tracks off my album.
That's great.
There's a lot of women who've done it, and
you should hit on those women.
But this is how look, I'm a different generation, but I kind of don't know what it means when someone does that. Like I saw a lot of women doing it, and it's a dating joke, and I thought, are they mad at me? Are they should I be pissed about this? They seemed like it was respectful. I still think I do the better version of my material. I didn't see anybody top me on that. So it's just weird. It's just a strange. I guess it would never occur to me that to do that, or even that would be a thing. That, oh yeah, you go and lip sync this comedian's material, and people know, they see the track, but they still think it's funny what you're doing. It's very strange.
I think that's how TikTok became blew up, because it was people lip syncing other people's songs, and I was like, okay, I guess this is like you're watching karaoke. It's like a little sad. It's like, okay, we're all inside. We can't go to real karaoke now.
Think about how many steps from reality that is. That it's mimicking karaoke.
Yeah, I think they probably like you, Joe, and like your joke if they're trying to make it look like it's coming out of their own mouth.
I think so. I would hope so.
You should message them and be like,
there's one woman.
That's my joke.
I thought was interesting what she said, so I don't know. I sent a like or something. But then there were one or two where it was just the audio playing and a person sitting there like this, not doing anything. So then I don't know what that means. Does that mean that they're trying to look? If you're trying to catch clout off of Joe DeVito, good luck to you, because I don't think there's bonus clout emanating off of me that other people can help themselves do. So I don't know what that was all about, but it means something to other people, I guess.
Did you ever think when you were starting out comedy, you're like, well, one day someone else will lip sync this joke into an app?
Nothing in that sentence would have meant anything to me. It's so strange, Chris, because I just hit the 20-year anniversary of doing stand-up.
Did you get your pin?
I got nothing.
You're supposed to get a pin.
No, I got a restless night's sleep is what I got out of it. But it is strange to think 20 years ago, what would I have thought of where I am now? I think I would have, like I said, I'm having a pretty good run. I don't say I've had a good run, but so that part's good. But even 5 years ago, there are things that are happening now that I wouldn't have understood even 2 years ago. Like even the way my Dry Bar blew up and had that huge spike in views for a while.
You had a special on Dry Bar. Yeah, for people who don't know. Those have been doing well. For people that I meet that don't seem to watch a lot of comedy, they watch the Dry Bar specials. Yes,
Dry Bar is somehow getting around what used to be the conduit for comedy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people who are grown-ups who like comedy, they don't watch Netflix specials. They don't watch Comedy Central.
Yeah.
They don't like it.
I wonder why. I wonder if it's going the way of SNL, where people are just sort of like, we've seen a couple and we don't want to watch some girl talking about her vagina for an hour just because somebody else says we should.
It's not worth the investment. And I don't think, I don't think those platforms, a lot of the decisions they're making are based on, hey, this is really great comedy. And it's caught up with them. There's too many other options now. People would
It is a
rather,
relief.
they'd rather watch a video of a girl in her underpants dancing on TikTok. You're competing against that. It's not easy.
We're
to
all
compete
competing against
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's why I try to go and talk to every person who comes to a live show. And I'm like, really, thank you for choosing me, because you could have been home masturbating to a myriad of things. You could have, there's
why not come masturbate to you in person?
Yeah.
Like a human being.
Just sit in the back. Yeah. Do
Yeah.
it quietly. And it's interesting you talk about like, oh God, like it feels weird, of course, to like, you know, watch like these teenage girls come up like, oh, I recommend it. And you're like, oh God, like, and that's where I want to like segue into this next thing. Did you hear about, I want to talk about the differences between the Christian right. And I feel like this all gets mushed together for everybody who is not on, there's like the radical left, and then there's like a little bit of the center, the politically homeless. And then I feel like there's this big mush of the conservative right, Christian right, the conservatives, and libertarians. And there seems to be this feeling of like, okay, all these groups are supposed to work together, but at the same time, they like to take their stand. Like a good example is with Brandi Love. She's an adult film star. I had an episode with her, actually. Gosh, what's today? Yeah, a couple days ago, and she was kicked out of Turning Point USA. I think maybe, I don't know if it was Student Action Summit, but the idea was like, oh, how dare this porn star show up at this conservative event? And she clarified, like, there weren't young kids running around. There weren't like young teens. She's like, yeah, it might have been, I think it was 18 and up, because I bought this adult VIP ticket and it was in the same place where they were selling alcohol. So, but they were trying to pin her, like, how dare, of course, like the Christian conservatives, you know, the Christian right, being like, how dare she show up? And then they revoked her pass and she, you know, wasn't allowed back anymore. And it's a pretty slippery slope, because it's like, why not just make it a private event then? If you have to so carefully screen everyone who buys a ticket, well, then maybe it should be invite only.
Yeah, that story is kind of an odd one. The last I heard was that they're saying I think they're saying that she bought the ticket under her legal name. So they
really, because she said her lanyard said her stage name.
Well, then
and she said that she did that for specifically the reason of like she didn't want to like out herself, you know, so people don't look up her real name.
That's a tricky one, because I understand where they're coming from. That look, if they want to do it as an event for young people on the conservative side, I think that's entirely reasonable for them to expect that. And I don't like the way we're sexualizing the world for young people. I'm really bothered by that. But on the other hand, I've listened to her on your show, and I like what she has to say. And I feel like you're right. You do have the edges. You have the edges where the Christian right and the super militant left, they're in this general killjoy category of wanting to impose their wills. But what I've noticed over the past couple of years is that if you're a person who just wants to be left alone, you have to shift toward the right, because the left has gone into this very controlling, all-encompassing, wanting to make all the decisions in your life. I don't like that. I'm reluctantly a very don't tread on me kind of person, because I don't like being told what to do. And I don't care what your motivations are. That's what they don't understand, that I don't care if you think it's because Jesus said it or because you think it's good for the environment. Fuck off. Like, I'll make my choices.
All the threads in the world are not going to convince me.
But there's so many interesting interlocking circles of things that I think are worthwhile. And I've noticed that it's a weird three-dimensional Venn diagram of libertarian thinking, Joe Rogan, stand-up comedy, Jordan Peterson, eating meat. You know, all these weird things are fitting together. Guns, lifting weights.
The Second Amendment, free speech.
Yeah. And I think there's just something about
making your bed,
having your shit together. Look, I am not a rugged, manly, put me in a log cabin type. I know exactly.
Really? You have that beard. That beard says different.
Beard is because I have a weak chin. I'm one of those guys. But on the other hand, what really annoys me about the left is this need to constantly be smarter and show that you know so much more. And I think what we've learned, especially in the past year, is that we thought it was bad when the jocks were pushing people around, but now we've seen when the nerds are in charge, woo! The jocks may push into a locker, but the nerds want to kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they've been revealed.
That weird girl with blue hair. Now she's in charge.
And she's no rebel. Right? You remember it used to be if you had green hair, you were a rebel, and now you're just marching in lockstep with a different group of assholes.
Yeah, now it's because your parents are like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, just don't steal out of my purse.
Yeah. Although I do like how white women are just attaching themselves to all these social causes.
You have to. That's the only way you can stay as a white person.
It's white women in America, they can't stand when things are not about them.
No.
So even when they're supposedly apologizing for their racism, they're making the conversation about their apology. So no matter what happens, they have to be the focus of it.
Yeah. Oh, I have to acknowledge my privilege. It is going to be my goal to do better. I have to use my power for good because I have so much power. It's like, yikes. You sound way worse than the person that's like, what? I don't know.
Yeah,
My
so
dad was
why don't you use the power to stop talking about yourself for 45 minutes?
Yeah. And I feel you on that point of like the world is over sexualized because it's just and it feels like it's who they're trying to draw in is getting younger and younger. But that's the thing. It's like people will say to me, like I have friends who are adult film stars. I'll talk to them. I'll have them on my podcast. But I also am friends with Christians on the right. And I have those people on my podcast. And then luckily, none of these people have said to me, well, you got to pick a side. You have to choose. I feel like if I get into more of maybe the conservative influencer space, maybe the kind of people that are invited to speak at these events, like a Turning Point or what's the other one?
CPAC.
CPAC, right? Then maybe it'd be like, well, let's go. What side do you pick for everything? I just think it's important to like have a conversation. That's why I really wanted to get Brandi on and be like, well, what did happen? Because Twitter is running away with it and people are like, oh, well, she was flashing her tits for teens. She was passing out cards. She's like, no, I wasn't.
Yeah. It's so strange because let me just say, before she was on your podcast, I was familiar with her work. But listening to her, she just sounded so reasonable. And it reminds me of an episode of Malice's podcast where it was him talking with Cernovich. And I thought, how could you not listen to these guys and come away with the impression that you may not have to agree with everything, but they're reasonable, thoughtful guys. So to me, I see that and I think, okay, whatever your take is, whatever side, tell me your argument. I want to hear your position. But I don't want to hear it with insults and ad hominem. Like, tell me how you arrived at that. And a lot of people can't tell you. They come down to what their emotional gut feeling is, which is not a good way to create an operating system based on how you feel.
Yeah, social media I think has like retrained all of us, like on all retrained what we think of as entertainment, retrained how we debate or don't debate, how we think. Short attention spans. It's like, oh, why do I feel this way? Why do I have this gut feeling? Like, why do I want to explore this more? And my fear is like, oh man, are the people who are interested in comedy getting less and less because you have just it's so easy to just numb your mind on TikTok or just scroll endlessly, and then you're like, oh God, it's 2:00. I gotta go to bed. I have work tomorrow.
Yeah, I wonder about that because now that I'm in the city, when I'm commuting into the office, the number of people I see who are just walking like this the whole time, and I think, what is captivating them? That they have to watch a movie as they're walking? Are their own thoughts that devastating to look into the abyss? they have to have stimulus coming to them all the time. And I know how addictive it is because there'll be times when I'm on the train and I'll look around and say, there's 15 people on here and only 2 of them aren't looking at their phones. But what my mind hears is phone. Why don't you check your phone? I mean, if you told us 20 years ago that aliens were going to come give us devices that would give us hypnotized, we would have said, well, that sounds like a horrifying dystopian view of the future. And we couldn't have signed up for it quicker. They found a way to put a casino in our pockets that would keep us constantly. I mean, even when I see adults playing Candy Crush, it's like, what is wrong with you? Like, at least read. Right?
I don't understand that either. I don't understand adults who play games online. Like, I understand video games. I understand that very much. But yeah, Candy Crush is like, what? Something's wrong with you. Like, you need to go. I think that's like you're doing this to avoid Googling therapists.
You're doing it because what you're saying is I refuse to have thoughts. I do not want to have any thoughts inside of my head.
I must only crush candy. Like, you don't get anything. You don't. Even I understand gambling online more so than what's it, Animal Crossing, or like, why?
Yeah, I don't get it, and it is difficult to get away from it, and I try to be. I've even noticed that. Oh, why is my neck hurting? And it's because I'm becoming one of these people who's turning into that weird shape. So I have to ask myself, do I want to turn into a weird brine shrimp kind of postured organism? Or do I want to stand up straight with my shoulders back, as the good Dr. Peterson says? And I said, well, if I want to be that person, I have to, if you want that, you have to do the thing. The things don't just come about. So it's, but I think that's also a scary thing, is if you say to somebody, what do you want to be? People don't want to answer those questions either.
Yeah, I think it all just got carried away. It was an easy place to have ads, so they had to create more apps for ads to be on. Oh, thank God, a question from Middle Age Crazy. Thanks for giving me an alternative to that Biden town hall train wreck on CNN. Oh, is that right now? Just kidding. I'd never watch CNN. Oh, thank you. Thanks for the super chat. Middle Age Crazy. He watches this channel. I wish I knew his real name.
I don't know. I think his name says all we need to know. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I want to know more about him. Yeah, sometimes I'll do this and then it'll like conflict with Tim Pool, but I'm just like, we're all what are you gonna do? We're all here. Have you noticed, like, since becoming like full time on Gutfeld, have you noticed more kind of, not really blowback, but like Joe DeVito, he's getting more right wing?
No, because I don't think anyone cared what I did. So that's good that there was no expectations. So far it's all been upside. It's been very strange. I live in this little town in Long Island, and I was out for a walk before the show, and two groups of people said, "Hey, you're Joe DeVito from the Great Gutfeld Show."
Oh my God!
Yeah. And so the first time I was, oh, thank you. And then the second time a guy stops his car to say it, and I was like, all right, twice in one night. That's a little weird. But
wow, you weren't getting that before.
I wasn't, and it's been really cool. And I noticed that. I did some shows on Long Island a week ago out in Port Jeff, and just a number of people who were fans of the show who wanted to talk to me after. It's just awesome, because they feel like they know you. They're excited. They're kind of pre-qualified. And it was cool. Like, I talked to this one guy and his wife and asked their names, like you do, like when you meet anybody. And as they were walking away, I heard the guy saying to his wife, going, "Nice guy. Nice guy." And I was like, oh, that's pretty. It was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Aww.
Because everybody else in stand-up, I don't want to say everybody else, but so much of it's just aggressive pieces of shit.
Yes.
Just these horrible experiences. And I thought, okay, it looks like I found my audience. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Do you feel like you kind of went around a lot of the BS instead of, if you were like still, like you mentioned before, slogging away, got to get into all these clubs. And I still know comics who are like, got to get past at every club. I got it. It's like, for what? To perform for people who couldn't afford to escape the city? Because the crowds feel different now than they did a year and a half ago. It feels weird.
Yeah. There's a weird tension. I mean, it's nice. I've enjoyed the shows I've done in the city since things have opened up again. I find that the people are so glad to be out that pre-qualifies them a little bit. They're not just wandering into the shows like they used to. But I definitely learned over the lockdown that, hey, I don't need to be on stage 2-3 times a night. What that was doing was, it was a hustle that kept me from addressing other things I needed to do.
Oh, yes.
Could have spent the time writing, or I could have spent the time sitting at home, watching a movie, playing my guitar, talking to friends. I mean, that was one of the big things that hit me during the pandemic, was that even though I physically couldn't be with people, the relationships that blossomed. Like there's a good buddy of mine from high school. It's probably I'd say my best friend. And we didn't realize, but we were not calling each other because we thought the other guy was too busy.
Oh, that's so many people, though.
And now we talk 3 times a week. It's great.
That's good.
Yeah.
What does he do?
He's in LA. He's a movie producer.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. Well, I'll send,
I'm just going to keep shrugging my shoulders.
I don't know what that move was. You seem to have some sort of you should hire my friend.
It's just my shrimp. It's my shrimp spine acting up again.
You should hire. She has some sort of burster sac issue in her shoulder.
That's how you know I'm above a certain age, when I think this is gonna like get a man's attention. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
that's
he's
cool,
not making
though.
silent movies. That's a big move back then.
And is he watching you on Gutfeld?
He doesn't really have the time, but I send him the clips, but he's another guy where we have conversations where I guess we're what they call classical liberals. He's a former punk rock guy, and even he is like, what the hell is going on? But he's a very funny guy, and he tells me about the conversations he has with super liberal people at work, where he'll tell me how he led them to a point. He'll very carefully lead them to the edge of the cliff where they realize that they're on the cliff. And I'll say to him, like, you did that deliberately. He's like, yeah. He gets a charge out of talking about, he was telling me he worked with a militant lesbian about some trans women in sports issues. And by the time he had talked her through it, she realized, oh, so this would be the end of women's sports, wouldn't it? He was like,
yeah.
Got nothing to do with hatred or phobia or any of that shit.
Well, it's like, for how long can you actually on Twitter and on the internet world, you can avoid the real conversation of biology and ignore it endlessly, but in person, you can't ignore it.
You can't. And I think back to when I used to do my powerlifting competitions years ago, how I've seen what happens when you add testosterone to men and women. I've seen it. I've seen the experiment conducted. And to say that if you're going to take a man who's naturally producing testosterone for his whole life and put him in to compete against a woman, it just means the end of women's sports. Now, if that's what you want to do, okay, admit that, then we should just have sports are open to everybody, and women get crushed and they don't have the benefits of playing on teams and learning the good lessons that children and adults learn from playing. But it's not, all I can do is tell you what I see and what I think is true. I can't convince anybody of anything else.
Couldn't one argue, well, if someone is transitioning to female, then they would be on estrogen, and wouldn't they be stifling their own testosterone? But then who knows, right? They could just be getting more estrogen. And do they measure the testosterone? Do they measure the muscle mass?
What it does is it'll make you pass a test, and it'll compromise your performance a little bit. But if you're someone who's been marinating in testosterone since before you were born, it's not going to change that you have all these other things that come with being a man physically. You're fast. You have more fast twitch fibers. Even things like your spatial awareness and the reaction time of your eyes, and things that you don't think of as just being muscular strength. But look, there's a reason why testosterone is a performance enhancing drug.
Not estrogen.
And not
right?
estrogen. Estrogen does not enhance your performance unless you're a woman who's going through menopause and like that.
You're like, I need to pick out curtains. Where's my estrogen?
Give me a shot.
Put it in my vein.
I want to tell a long story that doesn't really seem to have any point at the end. It'll enhance your performance doing that. Now, I have to tell you, what I have been enjoying in my spare time, I love watching black dating coaches online.
Where do you find these?
Are you familiar with Kevin Samuels?
No.
Oh, my God.
Is he on YouTube?
He's a YouTube guy and Instagram. He is amazing. He's this black guy who's around my age, but he's super stylish. He's an image consultant. And I guess I like his show for the same reason that I like watching Gordon Ramsay or Bar Rescue. I like when people are wrong and someone straightens their ass out.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, because he has these women come in and they talk about they all want high value men.
This right here, this guy.
Yes.
Is there a particular video you like?
You're gonna watch all of them.
Judge your real market value. Oh, that scares me.
Yeah, because what he explains is that what we come to in our society is people are so delusional that these women call up and they say they want a man who makes over 6 figures, who's over 6 feet tall, who doesn't have any kids, who's this, is that, and then he asks them, well, what's your status? Well, I have 2 kids from 2 different guys, was never married. Then he says, how tall are you? 5'4". What's your dress size? Oh, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
When he tries, but it's mean in the way that. Do you recall the first time you watched Judge Judy and you thought this woman's so nasty? But then you watch a couple episodes and you're like, "You go, Judge Judy."
I was like, I want her and I need her in my life.
He's helping people adjust their expectations, and it's helped me because when you look at another one is Fresh and Fit. Those guys are really good too.
Yes, I keep hearing about these guys. Yeah.
Again, and the Roommates podcast is really good. So for some reason, black dating coaches, and then I hear them talk about Jordan Peterson, and I see, there's all these interlocking links where they pretty much say we have to face the facts. What women want from men is not the same as what men want from women. In fact, masculine women repel men the way feminine men repel women.
Yeah. You know what's been kind of... Oh, wait, finish what you were saying.
I was going to say, like, and here's the best part. You don't have to like it. Free yourself from, do you think it's, you just have to accept that's what it is, and then you adjust yourself accordingly. The problem is, people want to live in these fantasy lands. It's the same as the dumpy fat guy who's like, he can only have a model. It's like, well, then you better earn a lot of goddamn money. You do not have the budget for it.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that was it reminds me too of like why I think Patrice O'Neal was so popular, because he just like something about a black man's honesty is like, okay, I'm like, yes, I just got the shit. Anybody's honesty, but it's like, I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun when somebody's like really got it down and they're like unapologetic about it. Like the way John Taffer is fun. Like, shut it down. There's a mouse in your fryer.
But it's that same sort of delusion that you see, and I'm going to say this because I want to see people say he shits on black women, and that's not what's happening, because there are moments when you can see their brain pushing back against what he's saying, something that their logical brain knows is true.
Which is why you get triggered and angry. Anytime someone's angry, upset, it's like you've hit something. If you were like meh about it and you felt nothing, you wouldn't get upset.
Yeah. Now for women, as far as your dating options and sexual market value, is it fair that you've got to sort things out by the time you're in your early 30s?
Nope.
Well, is it fair that men die earlier than you? I mean, is it fair that we have all these shitty jobs working?
Yeah. Is it fair that like maybe certain people gain more weight as they get older? No. Is it fair when people lose their hair? No. It's like, but no one sits you down and like, I don't know. Who am I to be angry? Let's be angry at my parents, right? Nobody sat me down and was like, let's not, I mean, are we really going to fret college, Chrissy, when we all know like where your skills lie here? And let's be honest, like your value is going to start to go down after 30. So, you know.
And for women, it's precipitous. It's very strange. But then again, for men, we're pretty much worthless until we get to be around 30.
It's the opposite. Like men build their value and women are born with value and then are constantly losing it the older they get.
Yeah, I heard another guy describe it as, if you look at it as gold coins, that women are born with 15 gold coins and men are born with none. So men have to go out and earn their gold coins. What happens is the women, once they get to be around 18, they start to lose coins.
We spend them. Yeah.
You spend them and you know, not that women obviously have their own issues and so forth. I don't want to make it sound like anybody has it easy, because everybody's got shit to deal with. It's just different shit at different times. And I think what someone like Kevin Samuels or those other guys, they're honest saying that, look, when you're a woman, it's not fair, but you don't have time to fuck around. You can't be 38 and say, you know, maybe I'd like to have some kids. Well, God, they called it geriatric pregnancy at 35. Geriatric. You know, is it fair that a guy like me, I could crank out a couple of kids if I found a woman that I wanted to do that with. I mean, sure, they're not going to be good kids.
Yes, they'd be great kids.
My sperm is probably not primo stuff, but it could be done. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd have to go freeze anything and thaw it out later.
Yeah, it would work. You would still make some kids.
Probably. And she'd have to be a real Wonder Woman, because by the time those kids get to be a problem, I am checking out, baby. So those are her kids at that point. So, but I highly recommend Kevin Samuels, and the Fresh and Fit guys are great. And you know what I like with the younger guys is they're very thoughtful. And that was not around when I was growing up. I wish it had been.
Thoughtful advice.
Thoughtful advice and just honest. And they like to zing the women. But I recommend the Roommates podcast. It's that same thing with being the best version of yourself. You know,
I have to play a little snippet of this. I'm so curious. Modern women really want men on their level. Why can't modern women handle the truth? Yeah, this is the one.
Those are really long though, so you have to get to
the point.
Yeah, I have to think of, are there ones where it's a little bit quicker?
Snippy clips.
Look for some of the shorter ones.
Okay. This one? His preview video. Hey, he's stylish. Let's see.
Let me see.
7:45. Right. Oh yeah, hours long. Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, average at best. I'm pointing to the screen like you can tell what I'm doing. Yeah, right there.
This one. Yeah.
That's the one that I think blew up.
Oh wow, I like him already. Look at his suit. He's wearing a jacket. I'm like, I'm sold.
Oh, he's.
Oh, he's so smooth.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Look at this. He's got a little.
And when they don't listen, he says, buy a dog and die alone. And he plays a dog noise and he plays taps.
Oh my God.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, are you a PhD?
Oh my God. Look at this. I deserve a Gucci bag. You're average at best. Here's a grocery bag.
Yeah.
What kind of dog is it?
He's a cane corso.
He's a what?
A cane corso.
What is that in English?
He reminds me a little bit
larger dog
of Jesse Lee Peterson. Do you watch him?
Yeah, he's good.
He's got wild takes, but
see if you can scroll to where the woman's face pops up in the video. That's usually good.
And the conversation comes.
I really don't understand.
Here we go.
What kind of man are you talking about? Because owning a business is no different than having a job, in my opinion.
Oh, she wants me out of the business.
Yeah, I'm not getting what you're saying. When should you? I'm not understanding why this is an issue. If you're, what kind of men are you? What kind of men are you dating?
I try to give guys that not a chance.
You try to do what?
I try to give guys that's not on my level a chance.
Why? What do you mean on your level?
I've never said that sentence.
Yeah.
That's making 6 figures or more.
Oh, is she making 6 figures?
You try to give guys who are not on your level a chance. Why?
And
they all want men where it's about
1%
of the population.
A 6-figure guy is what I'm realizing.
She doesn't seem like she's making 6 figures.
It out for you. You ready?
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
The guys you want aren't asking you out.
Uh-oh.
Well, I haven't been putting myself out there, honestly.
But you put yourself out there enough for the guys you don't want or linked you to ask you out.
Those are like guys I met online.
Right. So, again, the men you want.
She's not hearing it.
Yeah, you can see her brain is bending.
Ladies do this.
Oh,
You go and deal with men who you feel are beneath you.
The candle is a great touch.
To fix them.
It's like, everyone relax. There's a candle here.
Fix a guy that's down there. That's not my concern. The better question is, why can't you get a guy on your level?
Ooh.
That's the real question. Well, the first thing, well, first of all, I would tell you what I said in here automatically is a problem. Why you would come onto a show that you know is a disagreement day? It's selfish.
What?
It's like, well, yes, man. It's like, I want what I want. I don't say things for no reason.
It's good to have confidence.
That's why I asked you questions. You're 35 years old, a business owner. That means you understand what business is. You know this is a business. And I have a show title.
Yeah.
And you said
I'd recommend you go through a bunch of them. I'll see if I can send you some of the.
Yes.
Yeah.
But already I can see what you're talking about. It's like, oof. It's
Yeah.
It's nobody wants to think that they. Because I think women are told you can get whatever you want, and I've never. Maybe it's because I've never had like a ton of confidence. Like I got it more as the older I've gotten, but I never was like out the gate like I can have whatever I want. So I'm not saying it's better to have self-esteem problems, but like it's certainly life is less of a disappointment.
I think what his message is, if you want to be with someone, you have to understand what's appropriate for you. I mean,
what do they want? What does the guy that you want to get with? What do they want?
Exactly. And they always often say, that's what's funny on the Fresh and Fit podcast. They'll say to the women, what do you bring to the table? And the women just list a bunch of things they like about themselves. It's like, no. Like, what do you offer to a man? And they'll say things like, I know who I am. I like to travel. It's like, no one gives a shit about that.
Who doesn't know who they are? Someone who, even people with Down syndrome know who they are.
They are.
Everyone knows who they are.
If you're not sure, wear a name tag, but it's not a benefit to anybody else to say, but they say things like, I've done a lot of work. And it's like, look, you have to understand. And again, like I said, it's not fair, but so the point where it becomes good for people to hear this is that if you're not realistic, you're not going to get anything. So why not adjust your expectations? Don't consider it settling. I'll put it to you this way. I dated a woman years ago who she wanted to get a new car, and she decided she wanted to get a Saab, but she only had like $14,000 to spend. And every Saab dealer she went to, they tell her you can't afford. And she was so enraged. And I would say, you don't have enough money. So the Saab dealers aren't going to lower their prices to you. You have to think of getting another car. So it's the same as with a budget. I mean,
get a used Saab. Get a Saab that's been in a couple accidents.
Exactly. Although I think I did keep saying to her, I'm in no mood for your Saab stories. Which after like the fifth or sixth time, she was very angry. But do you understand what I'm saying? It's just like for someone like myself, it made me evaluate, okay, well, what is my sexual market value? I've got some things that are in my favor and some things that aren't. The number one thing I have against me is I'm short. Sorry, I'm 5.5 feet tall. Women like tall guys. So I could become your fucking bagel boy lunatic fighting people.
No way.
First. You know what I'm saying? Or I could just say, all right, well, so much for that. I don't care anymore. All right, well, then there are other things that improve my value, that I have a good income, I have a good job, that I'm respected in what I do. Other things, I don't have baggage of wives and kids. So you weigh these things.
You know who you are.
I know who I am. But the point is, I'm not going to insist that I must date a supermodel because I deserve it. Chrissy, here's one thing I've decided. Everybody should strike the word deserve from their vocabulary, because all it does is make you unhappy. You've either earned something or you got lucky, but no one deserves anything.
Yeah. Yep. We know this through years of doing comedy. You just get rejected so much. You're like, okay, whatever happens, happens. Right. You're either lucky or you worked for it.
And hopefully the people who are really successful, it's a combination of both. But when people say they deserve something, what they're really saying is divine providence is going to deliver something unto me.
It's entitlement.
It's entitlement, and entitlement is very rarely backed up by any sort of data or reason for it. You know, it reminds me of these commercials you see for, you know, cheesy things getting pulled apart in desserts, and it says you deserve it. And it's like, well, no, you don't. You don't, because you're a fat fuck, so you don't deserve it. Go for a walk. Eat a banana.
Yeah. Do you deserve it? Well, you worked out, you lost weight. Well, then buy a new outfit. Don't backslide into some mozzarella sticks.
But it's the same mindset that what does you deserve it means that no matter what I do, I want to get the good thing. I don't want to sacrifice, suffer, or endure, or be disciplined. And the same way people look at the dating market, that they just want the best, the number one primo. And it doesn't mean that you can't be happy, that you can't be in fact, it's the pathway to being in a good relationship. I mean, you want to have unrealistic expectations and be miserable all the time? Or do you want to, instead of getting the best possible, most awesome thing in the world, get somebody who's good, who's got good qualities.
What is
who
wrong
fits
with
you.
good?
Yeah.
We're undervaluing good. And I know the messaging that women get is like, you go, girl, never settle.
Yeah.
You deserve it all. Like, you accept you at your freaking floppiest and grossest, like messiest. Don't clean anything up about yourself. It's like, yes, the inherent value there is there, but it's like, okay, maybe when you're 18, like you go, but not when you're 35 or 40 and you're still like,
it makes people very, very bitter. Oh, you froze up there. Oh, you froze for a moment.
You froze too.
It's crazy.
Are you still there? Okay.
I'm still here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that idea of what's the Marilyn Monroe quote? If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Well, you know what? Marilyn at her worst was pretty goddamn bad. So I think what a lot of women don't realize, and I've noticed it on these podcasts, is that it's the women who say things like, I'm a lot of work, and men are just saying, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. Because, it's not that I'm a proud, outspoken woman. It's like, you sound like a pain in the ass. And why would someone want to deal with a difficult, annoying person? Oh. Uh-oh. Am I still on the show and Chrissie's gone? This is weird.
I'm here still. Why?
Was I still on the show while I'm glad I didn't stand up. I don't have pants on.
Oh, really? You shut up.
See? This big tech I'm spitting too much truth.
You should have pulled a tube in. Yeah. Okay. Where were we?
So my point is, and I'll flip this to the male side, that as in my journey over the past couple of years, which was really pretty much a glorified midlife crisis, but as I started to read more about how to be a better man, the idea of being the best version of yourself, you would see the guys who didn't quite get it, where if the person would say to them, well, women are attracted to men who are confident, they're successful, they're good at something useful, they're respected. And some guys would hear that and go, great, how do I trick a woman into believing that? And it's like, no.
Be that. It takes longer.
It's harder, but when you're able to do that, you not only will you not care about that, but that's when whatever's going to happen is going to happen, because you have become the best version of yourself, and that in itself is attractive to a potential partner.
It's why when people are happy with a boyfriend or girlfriend, that is another thing that makes people like want to get in there. It's like, ooh, they're like not trying so hard. They're just comfortable. They feel it's not being desperate. And I think, people don't want to put in the hard work or realize, like assess themselves. It's hard to do because
you just put it on the outside world. Then you're wonderful the way you are, which is rarely the case.
Yeah.
You could be better, right? I mean, everybody should look at it as you could be better.
So from being a man, do you feel like I bet men don't get as much messaging as women do. I don't know, because I feel like men are more the pickers.
It's different. The main difference is, as a man, you have to accomplish things. And I don't think people realize that's, they want to call it the patriarchy or what. Men are in charge of things because we have to be, because if we're not, we're just not going to be selected as mates. If you go back to the animal kingdom and the natural order of things, it's that there's a very select group of males in mammals usually who get to have mates at all, and the rest just live their lives without ever passing on their genes and being sort of kind of losers,
Making coffee.
Making coffee. So
making coffee for the other lions.
Exactly. So there's a very interesting distribution curve for things like that. It's the same with intelligence too, that for women, there's a much bigger area in the middle, but with men, you have more extremes. So with men, you have more geniuses, but you have more idiots. Whereas with women, you have more competent people in the middle.
There's more average women.
But more average, but average. See, people hear average and they think, oh, but average is getting the job done. Good. Quality, right? Average is not bad.
No, right. Because we've there's value in good and average, and they're okay. They're not going to stab you in your sleep.
Well, yes, that's a good starting point for most relationships. And lack of stabbing. But again, I think that's something that comes to the modern world where we just assume so many things that would have been considered miraculous. I'll give you an example. I have one of the comics I work with. She's from India, and she's working on some material about the differences when you come from India to the United States. And she said, it's the water and the shower. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, in India, when you want to take a shower, you fill up a bucket, and when that bucket's empty, your shower is over. And
Wow.
she said, if you come from that, the idea that you can stand in the shower, turn the water on, and it just keeps coming until you turn it off. She said it was mind-blowing. And I thought, wow, I never even thought of that. That's how privileged and lucky I am to live in the Western world, where we just assume you turn a thing and water will show up.
Yeah.
So,
you can let it run. You can let it warm up for
you let it run until the temperature's not quite right. Yeah. So if that's your world, you just assume that's the way the world is. So I think because we have our creature comforts taken care of and most of our necessities, we can start to think, well, I want everything to be awesome. I want every element of my life to be, exotic food delivered with an app, and I go like this and it shows up, and it ain't it.
Yeah, I think it's like if you go on anybody and you're not like ugh the whole time, and that's not your immediate, then go to date number 2. Like I've definitely been with people where I'm like physically like repelled by, where you're just like, the smell's not right. You're like, yeah, no, this is not. Oh wait, I missed a question for you from Uncle Bones. Mr. DeVito, has Gutfeld ever danced in front of you wearing his skin-tight unicorn costume?
I have not yet had the pleasure, but we're only a couple months into the show, hoping.
Wow. I didn't know he had a skin-tight unicorn costume.
Greg still has a lot of unicorn merch.
What is something most people don't know about Greg?
Oh, I don't know. Greg's pretty open book kind of guy. Great taste in music, but he does talk about that a lot. He's really into like old punk and some cool metal stuff. Things that people don't know about Greg. A lot of people might not know that he was when he was an editor for Men's Health.
Ooh. Yeah.
And there's a picture that pops up on the internet every now and then of him in a tank top doing some interview, and he was like kind of jacked. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Wow. Well, who knows? There could be pictures of you doing Bikram yoga that'll pop up one day.
They do. I feel like with the sketches we're doing, I'm going to be in my underwear on Fox News eventually, sooner rather than later.
Someone's got to do it. What do you like about working with him or working on the show?
I like everybody's very open. I thought there was going to be a lot more naysaying, but everybody they trust us. And this is one thing that's been interesting, is that it's very different than writing stand-up. Because when you have an idea for a joke, you write it out, you play with it, maybe you tweet it out, you try it on stage a bunch of times, you go back and you work on it, and then eventually, if it makes the cut, it's in the act for a while, and you say it over and over again. But when you write jokes for TV, it's got to be pretty funny, really fast. It gets said once, and then it's gone. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I still have to learn that don't worry about everything being perfect. It's just got to be very good a lot of the time.
Okay, so like a B+.
It's got to be solid. I think Joe Mackey, who works on the show, said...
he's a funny guy. I'm glad hysterical. He's on there, too.
He said it's got to be a lot of base hits. Doesn't have to be home runs all the time.
Just get on the base. Yeah.
Base hits. Yeah. He's hysterical. Actually, one of the things I'm really enjoying about the show is the friendship that I'm building with him, because he's a solid dude and he's hilarious.
He's got a fun voice. He's like, oh, hi. Oh, hi, Joe DeVito. So happy to be at work with you today.
And he is that guy, I mean, we have fun writing these, we're in the sketches where it's crazy. They'll say, okay, here's the idea. We need a sketch. And we have like 15 minutes to pull something together. So in the sketches, we can say, oh, what if you said this? And someone else will say, how about that? And it works.
So he's, good working relationship.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good when you have somebody who has like a lot of ideas to bounce off of, who's good with improv, like you both are. What do you find like you can't do, or like no zones, or like things you can't joke about, if anything?
I think you just have to be very careful that if you cross a line, there are people out there waiting to take that clip chop it into something that does not accurately represent it, and then spray it all over the place. So you have to be careful. You have to keep that in mind. But there have been jokes that I wrote where I thought, no way this gets on air. I'm just writing this because I think it's funny. and then they use it.
Can you remember like an example?
I'd rather not say, because I don't want to. I don't. Okay. I also don't want to kind of be like, ooh, I wrote this and I wrote that and Joe wrote this and Greg, because there's all these people contribute to the show. Because Greg does a ton of the writing, and especially his mom. I mean, the guy's work ethic is insane. I mean, he tapes the 5 and then our show back to back.
Wow.
And he's on point. But another thing I've learned too is that you do get in shape for it. You know, it's like, I don't know if you felt this, if you've taken a break from stand-up or maybe after the past year, that when you went back to it, you felt rusty and slow.
Yeah, you feel weird. You're like, do I remember my jokes? Yeah.
So this is it is taxing, you know, to come in and think I've got to say write clever things that make sense at a pretty steady clip for a certain number of hours a day. I'll tell you, when I come home, I'm tired. I certainly don't want to be writing any stupid tweets. I'm like, oh, let me turn my brain off.
Good for you. Yeah. Yeah. Gotta get a beer, throw your feet up.
Yeah. Do a podcast with you. Do you like the pattern on my couch? Do you recognize it?
I do. Shoot. It looks very 70s.
It's the carpet from The Shining.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yes, of course. And that's covering your whole couch?
I have it. Yeah, just over the top of it. It's like a little comforter that I bought. That's what I did when during the lockdown, was that I watched The Shining over and over, and Room 237. I watched that 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
So you're familiar with that movie, right?
No. Oh, wait. I'm thinking of Fahrenheit 451.
No,
Never mind.
Room 237 is a bunch of people who have crazy theories about what The Shining really means.
Frank made me watch this. Yeah. And it's like, oh God, somebody had this theory that like actually the woman is crazy and everything is made up.
There's a lot of good film dissections online too, where, although there's one guy's channel I went to, and his whole shtick is that every movie is just a dream and didn't really happen. But he does that for every movie. He's like, here's why Star Wars is really just Chewbacca with a concussion. And I was like,
so easy, yeah.
Yeah, but so that's my.
Is your Shining couch covered in blood?
It's not, but I haven't been entertaining lately.
You haven't had any ladies over on that time of the month.
Yeah, and I feel like kind of a douche that I have the guitar in the background, because I felt like that was a very Zoom person to be like, look how artsy I am.
Look at me, I'm just gonna pick this up and
it's either that or the squat rack, which is not really that.
I would like to see your rack. I feel like we're good friends. I don't know.
See, there's
books, guys.
There it is.
God, look, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, there's a squat rack.
Yeah, you could do some air conditioning curls.
Could do that. Got my bumper plates. There's my weight tree.
Wow, that reminds me.
Living the life.
I have to do Kegels. All right, Joe, this was great. I miss you. I feel like we need to do an IRL hang soon.
For real.
I need to go back to Long Island. I haven't been in a while. I feel like it's just gonna make me sad and like miss my mom more, and I'm gonna like start crying a lot. But
do you have any family out here still?
No, I have like one uncle, and by uncle I mean like just my dad's best friend.
A funny uncle?
So yeah, a funkle. Yeah, just no actually blood family. So just my yoga buddy. That's all. But we'll do a thing.
You're always welcome to sit here in my weird sweltering apartment.
I want to now. I want to sit on that couch. Joe, where can people find you, follow you? What gigs are coming up?
Well, they can go to at Joe DeVito Comedy on social media. And shockingly, at the joedevito.com website, I keep forgetting I have gigs. I have to update my calendar now.
Yeah.
We're back in business. So coming up, let's see what I got here. Let me go to the little book here. This weekend, Saturday night, I'm at the Engelman Theater in Northport, Long Island.
Ooh.
Next week, I'm at a club I haven't been to, Sandman Comedy Club in Richmond, Virginia.
Ooh.
In August, I've got Uncle Vinny's.
Yes.
I know you worked for Dino down in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. I've got The Brokerage on August 27th, headlining on Long Island. And the week after that, the Borgata in Atlantic City.
Oh, yes, gambling, a little fun in the sun.
R&R. But people can contact me through the Well, through all the usual places, through social media or through my website, joedevito.com. So
Yes, and they can watch you on Gutfeld when?
I think I'm in a sketch almost every night, but I'm on like every other week or so when everything
Ooh,
booked yet. What they do sometimes is if they have new guests, they like to have Mackie or I on, just so Greg gets
to
people he's
break them
comfortable
in.
with. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's been fun. Like, it's fun doing these sketches, and then we have someone who's like a legit Fox person pops their head in and does a cameo. It's very weird.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, it's great. Emily Campagno's been doing a lot of the sketches too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so great. I'm
And
so
of
happy
course,
for you,
Kat. I
Joe.
forgot to say Kat
Yeah,
Timpf
and
is in
Kat
a lot of them
Timpf.
too. Yeah, it's good.
She's
Really
cool.
good group of people.
I'm so happy for you, Joe. I love to see you win and crush it. And we'll have to do a thing in person soon.
For sure.
Love you, Joe.
Love you,
Bye.
Chrissie.